helping you with Acorn and ROCC computing.
Great. I can't see any of you because the lights are now all totally on bright, but I can just about see all of this. Thank you to all the thousands who've turned up. I can live with that illusion. For the 10th anniversary celebration, actually, of the release of ROCC OSM back in 2014 at the Cedar Court Hotel, but not this one. And there we have it on the map. So, 10 years ago, ROCC OSM, the mapping software for ROCC was released. Mainly the work of my wife, Hilary, who's through there. And sorry we didn't bring a birthday cake, but there we are. We didn't think of it until yesterday, which was a bit too late. And also we thought on the train on the way here, hey, wouldn't it be fun to show people what ROCC OSM looked like when it was first released? But we haven't brought that either. So we still got it on the machine at home, so maybe we'll do some screenshots. Anyhow, 10 years ago, we released ROCC OSM, and it has had a lot of development over the years since. So we added, over the course of that summer, we added Ordnance Survey grid lines, which appear like this. And then in the October, we added the ability to put in a postcode database, and putting your pins and tracks on the map. And with the postcode came the first of the integrations with other applications, because Martin Avison and folks implemented postcode lookup from Organizer, so you could get the addresses in Organizer and pop them, look up the location on the map. So that was a postcode lookup. And then in October 2015, April 2015, a year on, we added the ability to have multiple data sets. So, we've now got lots of countries converted, and they all interoperate. It can load data. If you straddle the boundary of one and another, then it'll load the data seamlessly from the different data sets and combine it onto the screen. October and May, in fact, May 2015 and later in October, I noted we had speed improvements with the rendering of the map. We added the features window, which allows you to turn off, on and off different features. So if you want to get rid of all of those fast food, well, turn off all the amenities, you can do that, and the shops, and update the map. And here we are again with a lot less clutter on it. Then we added track animation and graphs of loading GPS files. Integration in October 2016 with SatNav from Chris Hall, so you could actually get the live position from a hardware device into your into ROCC OSM. April 2017, here's a feature which probably still most people don't use that much. The ability for north not to be at the top can be quite handy if you want to print something out on a piece of paper and it's not going to fit, but it can make the maps look extremely weird if you're not used to being upside down, like in Australia or wherever. And then, of course, in October 2017, big development was adding contours using the Ordnance Survey data, which they've made available. Because, of course, most of OpenStreetMap, most of ROCC OSM is built on OpenStreetMap data, and one of the motivations behind the founding of OpenStreetMap, which was, I don't know, 15 years ago, something like that, was that Ordnance Survey data in this country was not freely available in any form. So some people started OpenStreetMap, and it expanded worldwide. And in fact, with recent developments, not only is more Ordnance Survey data freely available, but they're also making some of their data available in OpenStreetMap format, because now that's what some people expect, especially when it comes to routing and journey planning. That actually OpenStreetMap and its data formats have taken over in some parts, some elements. So here you see tons and tons of contour lines. Then in October 2018, we introduced the style editor. So if you're looking at woodland like here, and you decide, actually, I really want woodland to be a different color, then we can make all of our woodland that color and update the map. And doesn't that look terrible? More speed improvements in December 18. January 20, more speed improvements. March 2020, more speed improvements. There was a long way to go with the speed improvements. WROCC was released in February 2019. So here it is down on the icon bar. And it's an add-on which talks to ROCC through our protocol. And to start with, we put in pictures from Flickr and Google Street View, but we've now added planning application data, road collisions, food hygiene ratings, weather, all sorts of things from various open APIs around the web. And then in April 2021, we released version 2 of ROCC, which had a complete change to the map data format, and means that we can now zoom out to quite wide areas, and it doesn't take absolutely forever. Now, I should have tested this, really. We'll let that carry on. It would have taken ages and ages and ages before version 2, but now it can actually load a decent map quite quickly, even at a scale of 1 in a million like this. Further improvements in October 2021, allowing export not just in a draw file and sprite format like we'd always supported, but in PNG and JPEG for sharing with other people. And then in April last year, we introduced A to B, which is this application down here, where you can plan your journey from, say, Durham down to Bradford. Why don't I put in the Cedar Court Hotel? Court Hotel Bradford. That, by the way, whoops, that's not going to work because I've missed out the T of court. Oh, come on. Let's put a comma in, that will help. Oops, no, it has. Well, we seem to have got it. And we'll try driving that route. It will then use an online API to look up a route for you. And here it is. And because it's mostly motorway, it's quite simple. But if we wanted to know, sorry, I'm getting past myself here. And then in April this year, we have updated A to B and also ROCC. So I'll just do a quick demo of the changes to A to B, because, by the way, we can put this on a map as well. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Show on map. View data. Yeah, sorry, that's too big a map. I should have chosen a smaller area. We'll go for Bradford again. There's a lot of Bradfords. So with A to B, you can get the directions like this, and all of these turn indications are actually based on the information in OpenStreetMap as to what the shape of the road really is at that junction. And we can then display it on the map. I'm just going to put it on like that. We should find somewhere or other. Here we are, the route being shown in blue. Wait for it to appear. So here we are. It's coming in from the south, across there from the motorway. Now, if we wanted to know what some of the junctions look like, A to B with the release today now has a feature where you can double-click on any of the junctions, and it will go away and ask WROCC to find a picture from Google Street View, which will then be fetched. So, and it should be usually pointing the right direction for the junction that you're meant to be arriving at. I think the roundabout is slightly further off in the distance there. You can, oops, I didn't mean to drag the map. You can, if you want to, I apologize for this, the Wi-Fi is a little bit slow because I'm going through this laptop here. So unfortunately, it hasn't fetched the normal navigation points. But if you want to adjust it by moving the position a little bit or getting a better picture, it will go and fetch a new picture, and you'll see that it actually updates in the little thumbnail down here as well. Let's just do another one. Double-click there. And here we have somewhere in the middle of Durham, where we're meant to be turning right. Down onto, that's interesting. Yeah, we come out from the marketplace, which is where the Durham location is. So if we wanted to move forward a bit, we could do that, and then turn round to face where we got to head down. That's the picture there. And as you'll see, the thumbnail has been updated here. And these thumbnails will export with the draw file export if you want to. Or if you want to print it, it'll all appear in the printing. And you can also export HTML, which will include the pictures in as well. So let's just drag and drop that over onto the RAM disk, if we can bring it up. Come on, RAM disk. I think WROCC is busy trying to find the navigation points for Google Street View, which is locking the machine up a bit. Apologies for this. Yeah, we'll quit that to get it out of the way. Yeah, so if we export the HTML down onto the RAM disk, you'll see we have an index file in there, and then the images, which will be the turnings and also the photographs that we've exported. And that could be quite handy for zipping up and sending to someone else. All of the files are given extensions, which will make it easy for a PC or a Mac user to understand them. So that's a new development with A to B this year. And the big changes we've got with RISC-OSM, it's funny, I was looking through our notes, because we have a whole load of bits of paper from previous shows and all that kind of thing lurking around in a very messy folder. And so I was trying to fish through and find all the things that were useful. And April 2015, which was a year after the launch of RISC-OSM, I've got a plan here of what I was going to talk about at the Wakefield show 9 years ago, and what the new features were, and so on. And then there's a whole list at the bottom of ideas to float at the show to gauge popularity. And I must have asked people, what do you want? You know, would you like simple on and off for individual map features? And 20 people put their hand up for that. Now, I can't see any of you, but I'm sure there must be another 50 here who really are keen on this. Well, of course, we implemented that one. There was an idea of a color editor, so that all of the things, all of the icons for shops that are sort of purpley, maybe you could update them all together to be a different color so you could have a different style. We haven't done that one yet. Does anyone want that? No one's keen. Oh, well, we won't bother. Then there was a style editor. There was the track drawing, which hugs ways, so you can click and follow along a road like this, and it'll create a track that actually follows the road, because drawing them by hand is very difficult. So we implemented that. CSV import and export of pins, we did that. 4 people wanted that one. A map key window and export to draw, well, that's the features window. So we did that one too. So actually the main ones we haven't done yet, which might still be of interest, would be opening multiple maps. Does anyone want to do that? Hands up, I can't, no one wants to do that. So maybe we've run out of things to do, actually. If you do have things that you're wanting to see improved in RISC-OSM or any of its sibling applications, any of the related applications, do please tell us. We can't promise to do all of them. In fact, we do have an ideas list of our own, which is about 8 or 9 pages long in a text file, totally unstructured. But we would love to hear from you as to what you'd like improved. And I forgot to say, actually, I meant to demo one more thing in RISC-OSM, which is one of the things that we floated 9 years ago was adding support for non-Western characters. So if we go to the new map window and go to Greece, we can go to Athens, and we'll zoom in a good way, 1 in 5,000 map. So we've supported non-Western characters in the info window at the bottom for quite a while, but we're now supporting them in the map window properly. So you can get all of the Greek street names. There are choices available in the choices window. We always have lots of choices. So you can put preferred language in the map to English if you want to, and then if there's an English version of a street, it will put it on. I don't know whether any of these will. But Athens, you see, has now changed to Athens, and animal bird collection, I don't think said that before. But obviously, if you're going to a country where they're using a different alphabet, it can be very useful to actually know what it's going to say on the street signs there when you get there. So this is a good thing to have. Similarly, you'll be able to go to Belgrade and find your way around with Cyrillic. And what we're doing behind the scenes is we are using the RISC-OSS Unicode font library, which comes with NetSurf. And you'll see here we've got quite a lot of Roman alphabet ones, but let's just switch back to not having a preference for English and see what happens. You'll then see we've got a lot more Cyrillic. So the RISC-OSS Unicode font library is the bit of magic from the NetSurf developers, which means that you can say, look, I've got this string to print, I'd like it in Homerton, but if you haven't got the characters in Homerton to do this, go and get them from one of the other fonts on my machine, without the user having to work out what font to use. And obviously that's very useful in a web browser where you've got all sorts of things on web pages, which could be from anywhere. Now, we've actually made some improvements to Ruffle, especially for RISC-OSM, because Ruffle, in the form it's used in NetSurf, doesn't pay too much attention to what font it's actually picking. So you sometimes get a bit of a jumble of different styles of fonts if you're looking at a page which has Cyrillic or Greek or anything like that in it. So we've added some extra code, and I'm hoping we can contribute this back to the NetSurf developers. We've added some extra code which analyzes the font and actually works out which of the fonts on your machine are sans serif ones, which of them have serifs, and which ones are typewriter monospaced fonts. It does this very simply, actually, just by looking at the letter M and the letter N to see whether they are the same width. That does the typewriter bit. And then if you look at a lowercase l in a sans serif font, it's extremely simple, whereas in a serif font, it's a bit more complicated. So we can easily tell the difference between those styles of fonts just by looking at the definition of the letter L. So by doing that, and adding some extra code, we've made it so that it can actually do the things in the right sort of style and not have a bit of a jumble. And it will even do really quite exotic things, like if you go to Georgia in the Caucasus, former Soviet Union, you'll find they have a really extraordinary alphabet, which it's one of these ones where almost all the symbols kind of look the same, and very fascinating. So it'll do that too. What it won't do is Arabic or Hebrew, because they go right to left, and Ruffle doesn't support right to left at present. So I think I've only got a few minutes left, actually. I better be very quick and rush through Impact, our database, where the main new feature today is being able to export HTML tables. So we've had draw file export and text file export for quite a while, and we can now export a table. Sorry, I've just gone and demoed the draw file. Here we go. We can export a table in HTML, and it looks like that. And it notes that on the card, these addresses have line breaks, and it exports them in the same way for that. You also get, in this particular database, there is also a picture field. So if I just put the title, the name and the address and the picture into this field map, field selection, and we get a table. The ones that have pictures in the text table, it just tells you whether it's a sprite or not. But if we export as HTML, we can embed the images in the table, and off we go. Oops, yes, we'll overwrite that. And now you'll see we get these little pictures appearing in the exported HTML. There's various different options to control exactly how it does that. So that's very briefly the quick updates for Impact. I've already done A to B in Street View, which is good, so I've gained a bit of time again there. And let's just go back to somewhere in Britain. How about the Cedar Court Hotel again? So the other thing that we've done just lately is develop some applications in Python. So Chris Johns, who's done a brilliant job of bringing us up to date with Python on RISCOS, has also developed a RISCOS toolbox library for Python. So if you can quite easily develop applications using the toolbox written in Python. And we've been trying a few of these. We've got some very basic ones, one called Map Walker, that just goes and gets a place and draw a map, and then you can walk around the map using these arrows, and it moves the point around. So this illustrates responding to buttons and things in Python and then sending messages through to RISC-OSM. There's more practical ones like water levels, which will read the... oops, something gone wrong there. Which will read information about river level and rainfall sensors from the Environment Agency. So we can control-click here on this pin on the map, which is the sensor, and it will go and fetch us information. I think the readings, I don't know whether it's doing it or not. Let me just... I've gone and got two of them running at once. Anyway, it will go and fetch the readings for the last 7 days from this, and you can export as a CSV file. You can go and fetch several others and export them together. And we're releasing these Python applications freeware, so anyone can download them, see how to do different things in Python. You've got some example applications you can play with, tinker around, and do something with. It would be great to have a sort of tutorial series in archive. I don't know whether anyone is keen on writing that kind of idea. I'm sure if you speak to Gavin, he'd be only too delighted to host something like that. I don't feel up to it myself at the minute because I don't quite understand everything about developing the applications, but we've been learning a lot through just trying a few things. So we thought, let's put these applications out there. They may be a bit rough in places, but that's fine. People can improve them and experiment. So I think my machine seems to have hung here. So perhaps this is a good time to take some questions, because I think we've got about 2 or 3 minutes before we need to finish.
Which I bought 10 years ago at the show. You talked about the newer versions being, increasing rendering, etc. At a rough guess, how fast, has it improved from the first version to what we see today?
That's very hard to say, because in those 10 years, of course, all the machines have improved in speed as well. This was first developed on an Ionics, and it feels very slow now on an Ionics, but it was what it was developed on, and we really tried to make it as good as we could on that platform. I'm now running this on a fast, and the disk speed is so much faster, the processor's faster, everything is so much faster. When we did the upgrade from RISC-OSM 1 whatever to RISC-OSM 2, the biggest improvement was on the small-scale maps, because we were loading far too much data. It wasn't structured well enough. Because obviously, the further out you go, the less data you need. We got some structuring so that it knew not to bother loading information about all the trees and all the bus stops if you were at different scales. But it wasn't quite as good as it could be for further out. So we did some more structuring. And I think essentially, before those changes, we had limited people really to 1 in 250,000, because it was appalling any further out than that. It was bad enough at that. Since then, we've put the upper limit at 1 in 2 million, and it's actually quite acceptable at that speed. So it was a really big improvement, but I'm afraid I can't quantify that. Though we do sometimes see that people using rendering a map of London in RISC-OSM as a kind of benchmark for different platforms. It's kind of easier to time now than the Artworks Apple, and which was the traditional kind of go-to.
Is it possible to change the size of the pin on the map? Because sometimes I find them a bit too big. Particularly when you import, for example, loads of postcodes and they all sort of overlap and you can't see anything underneath them, or even the police data one, which is quite frightening sometimes.
Oh, I know. It isn't possible to change the size. You can, I think, change the style to a circular one and set the diameter. But these ones are only a certain size, which is strange, really, because it is a draw file, and they could be resized. Actually, 9 years ago, one of the things on my list of ideas to float was choice of pin styles. I'm not sure I even asked people about that, because I haven't got a score against it. So I'll put down a 1, unless anyone else puts up their hand, and we'll put down a few more. It shouldn't be too hard to do, I guess, but yeah, that's a very good point, because I sometimes feel they're a bit big too. I'm just going to try and get the water from this, the water levels from this. Control-click, come on. Is it going to hang up again? I think it is. Sorry, more questions if you like.
Do you have alternatives for place names in the UK? Seeing Fort William reminded me.
Yes.
Because it's also known as an Yerson.
Yes. So if we go, we'll just quit this. Suppose we go to Oxford. Quickly draw a map of Oxford. There's some fault there with the... Did I not manage to pick it? It's because it's searching Georgia still. There isn't an Oxford in Georgia. Who'd have known? At least not the one in the Caucasus. There may well be one in the States. So here we have a map of Oxford coming up. With a bit of luck, the word Oxford will appear. There we are. If we then change the choices, which are this one down here, and put preferred language on map Welsh, it will re-render the map, and hopefully, I've not tested this, we now have Rhydychen for the preferred, for the name of Oxford. Similarly, if you go to Scotland, I'm sure, and switch it to Gaelic, you'll get a lot of different forms of name, and indeed in Wales for some of these places. But there are a few places in England where the Welsh name will be in the data, and we've kept those in. Great. No more questions. I think we're probably due to wrap up because the prize draw will be happening shortly. But anyway, thank you for being in the audience to celebrate 10 years of RISC-OSM. And if you've any ideas as to what we ought to write next, whether it's improvements to this or something totally different, have a word. You never know. We might manage it before another 10 years are out.